Up everybody, it's Andy from taptrade.io. Today we're going to be using Thor to navigate the markets. If this is your first time joining, right on and welcome. A couple things to know. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is simply me using our trading tool known as Thor to help myself navigate the markets and hopefully give you a little bit of information on how to use it yourself. If you want to learn more, the best place to start is at taptrade.io. And or join our Discord or Telegram. You can start learning how to use Thor right alongside an entire community of people who use it daily, integrated it into their own strategy from all skill levels, beginner all the way up to pro level trader. Today we're going to be covering SUI. That's a request from our Discord community to cover SUI. And let me just mute this. And yeah, so we'll start there and then we'll go from there. I'll do a little victory lap to start. Once again, we had all of the injective calls that we were talking about on Friday. All of those came to fruition. And we'll look at what to do next and I'll let y'all know how I'm positioned and then we'll go from there. So hope you like the new recording background. I rearranged my office. And so now you get this side of my office. Let me plug my phone in and then we're going to rock and roll for real. So, there's been some awesome news over the weekend, which is funny to integrate. But it did impact the markets, and it's not really a surprise to anybody that a lot of those correlate and correspond to some of the existing Thor signals that we had. And we can just, say, hey, this was news, or we can say, hey, this was something we had on our radar for, a couple weeks at this point. And that's a lot of what is happening right now, is that I'm seeing a lot of these big macro moves correlate to Thor signals that I had already had in my mind, specifically with injective. We'll start there for today. Now, I am not a mathematician. I don't really know charting all that well. I'm not like sitting here drawing a bunch of lines. I'm just looking at signals and I'm integrating it into a risk managed strategy where risk management is the only thing I have to do. Thor has taken the guesswork out of everything. So if y'all are new, it helps. And if you're an existing Thor user, it helps. So 1 day signals right here in injective. We had a signal at 13 and we hit that take profit point. I told everybody that was going to be where I was taking profit on any of the injective that I had at $7. And from there, that was a clean 2x. Can you guys give me just 1 second, please? One moment. Be right back. All right. So that's fun. For those of you who don't know, we're on like baby alert any minute now. I'm just ready to take my fiance to the emergency room or to the birthing center. So she was giving me a funny look and I needed to go and check. Sorry for the interruption, but we're ready to go to the hospital at any point right now. Okay, so move this back over. And rock and roll. So injective, anyways, like I was saying, we had a big ass buy at like $7, and then we had a couple of signals that we DCA'd in on, that I DCA'd in on, and 13.3 was like my big first take profit, and we knew full well that there was another big ass signal on the 1 day rating up here at 14. Lo and behold, look what happens. Clean. Oh, so clean. You hit the 13. We knew there was a signal above, so we didn't go crazy into it. We didn't over leverage it. We didn't do shit. And we did the plan, and the plan ended up happening pretty much picture perfect so far. We hit into the middle or upper range of this $14 signal, and we had a big already market reaction. Yeah, it's not anywhere near the 16% that we're looking for on the table, but it's still like a really evident market reaction to that one-day signal. We knew, again, that $13 signal was one of two existing signals, and to approach it accordingly, and boom, the plan worked out perfectly. I made a ton of money. I'm going to get a concrete slab poured in the back of my house. I bought a hot tub over the weekend that we're going to be pulling out and getting delivered over here. And that's what THOR means to me. I didn't have to think about any of this. And this isn't like a bragging session, but this is legitimately how you actualize your gains and what this tool is meant to do. It's meant to change your life. It's changed mine. I hope that these explanations of these signals and ranges has at least helped some people who are trading injective if they integrated that into their own trading strategy. So that's what this thing is designed to do, is just take the guesswork out and to ideally make money. So now that we've gotten that, now that we already had like a 2x return on the original trade, I'm largely out of my position at this point. It filled all of the position that I had. I didn't really add any underlying injective spot to my bag. But now I got a 16 to 25% trading range for injective, right on. I did open a short at this range. I sold the spot I had bought, and I opened up a short. Not a hedge, because I sold all of my spot at that point. I guess you could say I'm hedging the rest of my spot bags with an injective short right now. But a 16 to 25% trade, it's just too much to pass up after having made so much money on an asset that you can now comfortably sit and look at your trading delta and maybe apply a different R&R. So this is how you as a trader and how, your journey will expand and evolve over time. Once you make money trading, your risk tolerances could change pretty drastically. So specifically to this, we're going to move on from this big, like, ethereal conversation or whatever. This was a very profitable winning trade. You set aside, whatever you got to cover your bases, as it were. All that tax liabilities, whatever. Don't want to be weird about it. Pay your effing taxes. Set aside your taxes, and then you have free money to play with. And I say play because you can attach a very different risk tolerance to money that is, made on trades. You can, boom, put it directly into your existing trade strategy. You can not adjust anything, or you can, as a trader, say, all right, man, I'm not usually a big shorter, but I'll open up a small short on this position right here. And I can do so allocating a percentage of my wins, and then it's, assign the R&R that I want. So on a 16% to 25%, I'll probably be willing to weather like a 1 to 3 R&R. That's probably what I do on something like this. Nothing crazy. And if it works out, right on. And if it doesn't, I'm not really mad at the loss if I take a small loss on top of an already actualized level of profit. So that all fun aside, I got a short injective right now. Small short on injective. Let's look at Bitcoin real quick. So nothing on the big macro time frame. We're getting close to all-time high. I think we got up to about 5% on all-time high for Bitcoin right now. Lots of conversations about trade, tensions easing. These things are all great and will move markets profitably or, into, I think, more bull territory. But on Bitcoin, it's largely been, some existing numbers we knew, testing down at like almost 72. Didn't get all the way down there. But anyways, so I don't have any signals on Bitcoin. For me personally, that stops the conversation. I'm not selling any Bitcoin. I'm not buying any Bitcoin. Why? Because Thor's not telling me to do either one of them. So I'm going to stop thinking about Bitcoin other than checking this 15-minute signal, seeing that there's only a 1% to almost 2% and saying, I don't really care about that. So fun check-in, taptrade.io/Thor. All of these signals are on a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio. The percentages mean that is our winning rate for either 30 days or for a cumulative total since mid-August 2024. Bitcoin 15-minute signals is all I'm looking at. 70%, 78% win rate. So, all right. fun. Maybe you do apply a little bit of leverage. 10x, 20x is a crazy amount of leverage, but 10x is also a crazy amount of leverage. But maybe you do amplify that trading delta by applying a small amount of leverage on that position. And you can amplify that 1 to, whatever, 5% fairly easily. Go from there. So I don't have any big moves to call for Bitcoin personally right now. Thor's not telling me anything. When it does, I'll integrate that into my strategy. Right now, I'm still in the same thesis. Stack Bitcoin, as always. Stack Bitcoin, take some hedges to buy more Bitcoin, basically is where I'm at. And I do have a small Solana bag. I'll look at Sol, and then we're going to cover Sui. So we are right into the lower part of that 1-day range that we were talking about right now. I'm not going to be surprised if we continue to get a little bit of a pump. We just kissed it right here at this 1-day range. We blew past the 160 short that we had. And that's why I talked about it pretty clearly at that point in time. If you have two signals, big 1-day signals sitting on top of each other, if there's even a micro sentimental shift, you can blow past the lower level. Very easy. And so when you're doing these shorts and when you're trading, I hope what you saw me do was know full well, hey, this is on the radar. We should integrate this into our plan. I probably shouldn't sell all of what I want to sell at that 160 range. And what did I say? I sold 70% of what I wanted to sell under $100, made a fat profit, hell yeah, right on, and saved 30% and opened up a hedge in this range. So I knew that we had this signal right here, which is now under invalidated because we moved past it, right? And we did hit a virtual stop loss. But this was still a take profit point for me. And I'm so happy I knew that because I bought a bunch of Solana under $100 and I sold it at 160 and I kept a 30% of that, under sub 100 to sell at 191 to 178. And I've hit that first entry. I generally break my sells up if there's a big ass range like this into like 3 to 5 orders. And so my first order out of 3 have hit. I have one set at the bottom, one set at the middle of the range, and then one set at like sort of the top, not like 189, I think is where I have the last one set. If we hit them, right on. If we don't hit them, I've already made enough on this trade to be happy with the trade. I'm super keen to, hold Solana if I have to. And if I don't, and I end up taking more profit, then right on. Cool. This is interesting to finally have like a video documentary of exactly what the plans are and how they come to fruition, because I've said it 1,000 times. Trading is the dirtiest game you can play. It's not clean at all, and you are your biggest problem. I hope that you can reference these videos, or when you're in these classes, use some small tidbits of that to adjust how you're trading. That's the biggest fucking difficulty is you. You know what I mean? The math is here, the signals are here, and our plan was set the entire time. Now we get to let it, see it through. Let it go across the finish line. Hey, little buddy, out of all of that money we'd been sitting on waiting to take a trade, you only have 2 trades left to actualize that profit completely. That's a really cool feeling. It's when you didn't have to guess on any of this stuff, and you knew if it went the other direction what your plan was for a bad trade, i.e. stop loss or adding to your position or whatever. So on the 1-day signal, Solana, color me not surprised. We've hit now the 2 ranges for THOR that we expected. You can open up a short starting here. I'm not giving you financial advice, but mathematically speaking, this is right below a range that a short would be, a fairly, I don't know how to say it the best way, but it's a decent place given the current math to open a short. I'm going to look at TAP real quick and see how we do on Solana. Be really good if I can spell. And then we're going to also look at Sui after this. So on Solana, 61%, still great, but it does underperform where we like to keep our I usually say our average is 70%. That's generally speaking what it is. So by our standards, it's slightly underperforming in the last 30 days. Cumulatively, right on par. 1 day signals on Solana, 2 out of 3. That's boss mode for me. Super stoked on that. Cool. So I knew with 2 out of 3 chances that when we get to this level, we will start seeing some of this pullback. This is a big ass range on the table. If you take a signal like this and you expect it to just happen immediately, definitely not. Definitely won't happen, especially with a 23% take profit trading delta on the table. Something like this is going to take so much time to cook that you, again, are probably going to be your biggest problem on it. From a risk to reward perspective, when you apply leverage to signals with this big of a delta, you are setting yourself up for failure, in my opinion. But you could play on top of it. If you get subsequent or smaller time frame signals within this range, or, it really depends. Say you had a signal at 191 pop up on a 1 hour. You see this same range pop up as a short on a shorter time frame. You can start adjusting how you're going to either continue to play this signal or add to your position. Right now, we don't have anything, so the thesis remains the same. I have 2 take profit orders set right here, and I do have a hedge after that set pretty high up here. It's at 180, 188. So we'll see if it fills. I'm not stressed either way. Really comfortable in my trading portfolio currently, which is nice. So that's sort of the follow-up to Solana, follow-up to Injective. Both of those things have really followed along with what we thought our plan was going to be. Real quick, one last one, then we'll get going on Jito, or the other one. Jito, still lagging a little bit. We have these signals right here. We have 3 weeks until there's, 2.5 weeks, until there's another unlock on Jito. They unlock 1% of the token supply every month to the original seed investors. That generally, in at least this current market conditions, has been a bit of a sell event. So I'm still looking to see if we hit this lower level of the Jito signal first before that next unlock happens. On this specific signal, I am not saying personally that I'm going to do like a 80-20. That's probably the ratio I'm going to take. I'm going to sell most of it within this range and hold it a very small amount. In expectations we hit this upper signal. Now, at any point in this market shift, potentially revisit of some of the, support or resistance levels, either way that we're looking at, fair value gap posted right here. We knew about that. Largely this candle, Jito's been trading just like a roller coaster, but we have now a fair value gap back at 180. That's the top of that range right here. So we'll see on Jito, but my plan is to sell heavy right here, about a lot lower. And then this signal, funny, haha. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, whenever it was. You look at these signals and you think, dude, that's impossible. That's not going to happen. Oh my gosh, what are you talking about? This is now a 1 week signal. So this is on a 1 week time frame that has now adjusted itself to a 1 day time frame, which is where we release signals at. It is not uncommon to have these like, oh crap, that'll never happen signals, be 1 week signals. And when they transition over to being visible on the 1 day time frame, that's when shit gets real. That's when all right, this is now on my radar. And I have had that as a contingency in my plan for weeks at this point. I've known that we could see sub $1 Jito. Oof, that would hurt, but I'm ready to add if I have to. And I'm also very keen to take my profit at that level because of that signal still. The invalidation level on this signal isn't until upper 5. That's wild. Again, 1 week signals, crazy ranges. And then obviously, that would be invalidated if we move there. So Jito plan still, once again, the same. Now, This is going to get redundant and boring and just a lot of the same old shit for a lot of people that join these classes. Why? Because it doesn't change. The asset doesn't change. Whatever. The way I approach Thor, at least, always remains the same. It's a model that I have for helping me interpret it and for helping me know how to navigate it. And it's been really great for me. It's changed my life. Straight up. It has changed my life. You don't have to trade like I do. You're not going to trade like I do because our financial situations are completely different. Maybe you're on the come up and you're grinding it out in the trenches. I get it. I respect it. That's where I started too. That's where we'll get. Poppy, I gotta mute you, buddy. Maybe you have a ton of money. Maybe you've got, $10 million and you're trading with it. Right on. GG. You did good. You're going to use these signals different. So I talk about how I would use them. Yeah, I try and take myself out a little bit, but if I can't, you can do it on your own. But the style doesn't change. We got a 1 day signal only on SUI. Let me just start because I always look at the math. 59% in the last 30 days, 70%-ish over the last cumulative total. Right the F on. SUI, timestamp, general trading timestamp. My bad, I didn't do that earlier. Currently, Bitcoin's trading at 1026. Ethereum's right under 2500. And moving into SUI. Where are you at, SUI? I have no idea where it's at on the top 100. Pretty high, 11. Wow, good job, SUI. Currently, SUI at 392. Daily high, 426. 420, stoner. And let's go from there. So, blasted past that range. Now back on Thor. Blasted past that range. Do we have any that were invalidated right under it? We had a short at 280. That's forever ago, though. Blasted past that. Invalidated. Boom. Looking at the chart, a couple big-ass fair value gaps. I don't see anything else, right there. Nice fair value gap here. And an active short that we rocketed past like 5% on, something like that. And we're back into the range right here. So, when you don't have much other than a big one-day signal, you can get ahead of yourself. You can start trying to make up a bunch of shit that isn't there. My best advice, personally, for a situation like this, if you are flat in and come into SUI fresh, this is a really great short to take. This is still well within the range, on the lower end of it. Yeah, you didn't get that Pico high. Maybe you could have amplified your profits a little bit. It was a fairly tight range. Already. It was a pretty tight range. We're in short territory all across the board, or more importantly, we're in really take profit territory for a lot of these assets. Fun, I don't know if it's a word of advice or whatever, but at least my take is most of the volume is going to happen on spot. There's a ton of volume that will happen on the perps markets and everything, but spot traders are where the price action is actually at. If you see a big short on a 1 day, it's not always a short, like open up a big fat perpetual short. Sometimes, like I said, it's just a take profit point for a spot trader. So that being said, if you had spot, great time to take some profit. If you want to just take a big fat short, SUI is one of those available assets alongside a lot of others that are currently within potential short territory. Injective, almost everything we've looked at, other than Jito, is in that big macro short territory right now. As a trader, you get into some funny conversations here, and it's just like, who's going to get effing liquidated? One side or the other. Always. Someone has to lose for someone to win. If 100 people are telling you that we're going to the moon tomorrow, I start getting hesitant and skeptical. When I see a big fat short for Thor alongside some other indicators that I think people are, overly bullish on the timeline, whatever it may be, getting into that, like, I don't want to say manipulation territory, but definitely having people question whether or not, you know, it's alt season or whatever, any number of things that can be said to manipulate people emotionally or give them a bias. You can eliminate that bias right here. You can take your profit or you can open your short. You can completely mute the timeline. You don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to watch anybody's videos. You don't have to watch opinion videos, you know? And hey, I'm just another guy here telling you, well, this is a short territory. So for SUI, you know, it all depends on how you come at it. It all depends on what your positioning is. But you have a 22 to 35% trading delta on the table. That's a great risk to reward ratio, depending on what your R&R is. Now, let's get a view of the markets overall. This is going to get into pretty limited access territory. If you're joining on YouTube, we do have a subscription-based model to access to our tools. I'll show you some of my personal access into it via THOR Pro. If you are a whale or have whale access, you know THOR Pro well because it is just here to, on top of save you time, save you even more time. And I personally switch back and forth between the interfaces. This is how I get to where I want to go. This is how I see what I want to see. And then when I want to pretty it up a little bit and isolate the individual asset, then I'll switch back to regular THOR, and then I'll look at it firsthand. So I want to see where the markets are at. I've been speculating, saying, hey, we're in big ass short territory. Well, let's fucking see. Well, currently we're in micro long territory. Well, Andy, we're in macro long territory on these assets, AVAX, which we've been holding forever. And all right, 50-50. Active longs, 4, 5. AVAX long has been going for months at this point. Dipped below, didn't hit the virtual stop loss. Crazy range on the table. ARB, same. Arbitrum, HBAR, SUI, Injective, Sol, all in one day shorts. I hope you never thought it was easy being a trader. You now have options. I personally am taking profit and not opening up big shorts, but I do have hedges, probably about 3 to 7% of my portfolio, up to 7 if we get into some additionally higher ranges. Like I had said what was the other signal? Whatever the one is, I can't remember right now. But you can see I have positions building up to 7% of my portfolio in terms of a hedge. That's an aggressive hedge. I have really tight stop losses across the board. I do think that news, trade war tensions, easing, things like that can push us into bullish territory. Again, stock market overall had a great recovery. I didn't catch any of the news in terms of job reporting, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. I just want people to at least see that it's a tumultuous, trading environment regardless of what's going on, but even more so when you have one day longs and one day shorts on the table. You likely don't have access to this many assets. I have a lot of subscription model access to our own services, but you can get really easily overwhelmed if you start looking at too many things. And that's the biggest piece of advice here, is that the less you look at, the more that you focus on one asset, like we've been doing Injective, or Solana, you play it better. You don't play it, you start trading it better, like 100%. So I don't think that this really gives me anything that I want to look at other than maybe a couple of potential day trades. I don't trade WIF. I like Link. 199% is not on my radar. Now I say I don't trade WIF, but we got 6 and 7% on the table. Maybe I do. But ARB, let's just quickly look at Arbitrum. 59% over the last 30, or 46 over the last 30, 59 over. And it's not going to let me. Oh, there we go. Oh, gosh. I have to connect my ledger and do a bunch of stuff. Oh, there we go. And go into ARB. Let's check this 15 minutes. All right. Here you go. Here's a long on the table with 2 additional levels below. Let's see if we get anything on higher time frames. We do. Yeah, that 15-minute I would not play. Only because we have lower ranges with much higher returns on the table. And that's on the 15 minute right there. That's crazy for the 15. You can look at the 1 hour. Ooh, I am going to take this trade, I think. You can look at the 1 hour. So you have a 1 hour signal showing on the 15 minute. This is the trade I'd take out of all of those 3 available ones. Only because of that crossover. And, look at that. It's the 4 hour also. That's a good effing trade right there. And it is what I can see revisiting a 1 day. Once again, that's a great ARB signal right there. Hit that lower entry range right on, blew past that, and it's now re-showing back on a 1 day buy with a 56% trading delta on the range. Take profit for this is right above that short. And now I have signals stacking all the way down to the 15 minute. 0.33 or whatever it is, 0.38. There you go. There's my trade. I found a trade I'm going to take within, I don't know, 30 seconds, 45, a minute, maybe, whatever. There you go. That's how hard Thor has to be, you know. I just, once again, looking at it, you know, I'm going to take a responsible R&R on this one, personally. Look. Yeah. Arbitrum, 56, still on the right side of probability from a trading perspective, right on, 61 to 51%. That's a great trade. Set your risk to reward in whatever parameters you're comfortable with, and that's a, you know, free Thor signal for anyone who wants to test it out. On an 8% range, I personally would probably do, you know, a 1-to-1, you know, maybe like a 1-to-1-2, something like that. I probably put a 5% stop loss on it. You can tell that this isn't going to negate that. I'm not going to get stopped out, and I will add a little bit right here. If I want to take $1,000 on this trade, apply a 2x leverage. That bumps you up to 16% on the trading range. I'd probably go to a 1-to-2, take a little bit of a fatter range, maybe a fatter drawdown potential. And the only reason I say that is because I got a 1 day signal, which is what we're essentially saying we're revisiting. All of that shows, you know, 1 hour, 4 hour, you know, we have a correlating 1 day short that shows just right below where the take profit is for the 1 day signal that we found. That's a great trade for me. That's why I'm also willing to set a little bit more of a broad range stop loss on something like this. One, the 8% calls for it, you know, and two, the range on what is, you know, effectively this 1 day signal is just fucking huge, you know. So we know that there's fuckery involved. We know that there's a little bit of up and down, whatever. But for this, that makes me feel really comfortable essentially taking whatever time frame it is, applying whatever leverage you want, if any, and then doing a risk to reward calculation based off of that trading delta. You just took a trade, you just managed your risk, you didn't have to think about shit, and hopefully Thor is well on its way to helping you out. So that's it for me. It was great to see our plans for Injective and Solana come to fruition. It'll be great if and when we can get to the conversation around Jito. Obviously, this Arbitrum long is now on my radar. I am going to add this to my watch list before I forget. That's as hard as trading has to be when you use Thor. I haven't done any charting. If you haven't, you know, been able to tell, no charting. I haven't had to go to look at what my favorite influencer is saying on Twitter. None of that matters. In fact, it's just distractions for me personally. Clean Thor signals have and will continue to likely be the best way for me to personally trade, and I hope that you find value in it too. If you're new, if you're in the Discord, if you're listening live, if y'all have assets you want me to cover moving forward, I'm so happy to cover them. If you want to talk before we have like a class about your personal situation, I can really try my best to look at it through your lens. I'm not going to provide you financial advice, but I can really try and let people know how I would use Thor. And that's the other thing. It is on it is on y'all to one, try to use Thor, to learn how to use it and all that, but to ask questions. And we do trading classes 5 days a week, live trading classes with myself Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have Dregs, who focuses on like integrating Thor into DLMMs and liquidity providing on Wednesdays. And then we have our intermediate trading teacher, Mode, who is a fantastic charter, integrates Thor alongside his own TA, and does intermediate trading on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We want to be a resource for you, whether you are new, absolutely, completely green, fresh, don't know anything about trading. And if you're an experienced trader, we have a ton of experienced traders as well, who it's just nice to have some friends and rocky, in choppy waters. So y'all know it's fun to trade. It's fun to trade solo. It's even more fun to trade with the community. And that's something that we're also really hoping people in the Discord take advantage of too. You don't have to wait to come to these classes if you guys have questions. Our holder chat and obviously if you have access to it, our trading chat are great places to get any feedback. Ask people about your plan, because that's what I encourage, is to not just go out and willy-nilly just do whatever, take trades without having done at least what I consider to be a relatively beginner-friendly process of just understanding all your time frames, understanding the possibilities on the table, and making a plan both ways. Make a plan with your contingencies already baked into it. Because if you don't and you get caught with your fucking pants down, you're going to be pissing in the wind, losing money before you know it. And no one likes doing that. So make a plan. Plan your trade. Trade your plan. That's fun. So that's it for me. Thanks for joining. See you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.